Hey everybody. Uh, Today I want to talk about sports, basketball to be specific, and how I grew up just in love with basketball. I don't know where it started, but I think seeing like guys like Steve Francis and Catino Mobley back in the early 2000s when they were on the Rockets and doing their thing, man, that was a great time, and that really inspired me to want to play. You I think the Rockets been my favorite team for years. My hometown team, and they're great. Especially now that they got Russell Westbrook and James Harden. You know, wow, the sky's the limit. Um, Also, I mean, there's other sports that I like. I kind of did fall in love with soccer for a while, and I was never really a baseball fan, but I love to watch, and especially with the Astros going to the World Series, that was an awesome time. I know they cheated, but before I knew that, it was it was like wow. I'm kind of even hesitant to wear the shirt because I feel like I'm supporting some kind of cheating movement or something. But yeah. Uh, Yeah, basketball, man, that was a great time in my life. I played in Puerto Rico when I was a kid. I played in Stafford when I was a teenager and played for the Stafford High School. I also did AAU, which was awesome, getting to travel and do all that kind of thing. Traveled all across Texas playing basketball. I remember one tournament we went to Dallas. We didn't get very far, but it wasn't a good experience. It was a learning experience. Um, yeah. So I think yeah, that was awesome. I also want to talk a little bit about my childhood. You know, I had an okay childhood. I think that it was rough in certain points because I did get a lot of spankings because I guess I was a bad kid, but some I misbehaved sometimes and I just got spankings. Looking back on it, I feel like it was child abuse, but you know whatever. Nothing I can do about it now. Uh, I lived most of my life in Stafford and in Houston, the Houston area. I spent some time in Rosenberg as a small child, and then moved to Stafford. Lived in Houston for a little while with my grandpa. But yeah, that was awesome. I think now that I'm getting older, I kind of feel like, man, that was such a long time ago. It feels like forever ago. Like it's crazy that all these things that I went through growing up, they happened like years ago, 20 years ago. Um, my dad did die like when um, when I was 10, 2004. That did affect me, but uh, living in Puerto Rico kind of for the couple years after he died, that was a good experience. I remember just going to school, having so many friends, and playing basketball, and it was easy to forget about his death and move on. Um, yeah, so that was that, and also yeah, I don't know what to talk about. uh, yeah, I think today I'm gonna eat some steak and chicken wings, or just steak without the chicken wings. getting kind of hungry. I haven't eaten anything today, but I thought I'd make a video just to keep updated with you guys and keep you guys updated and to just keep releasing videos. Um, yeah, I played basketball in Weimar, Texas. I played in Stafford for Stafford High School. When I was in Weimar, it was for an AAU team my uncle and my cousins had formed. So they asked me to join, and I did. And that was a good experience. Though they did kind of have to hide my age, so I had to shave so that I could play. Looking back on it, it was ridiculous, but I would never do that again. And because they had age groups, and I was like 1 year older than everybody else, or a couple years older than everybody else, so they kind of just kept me a secret, kept my age a secret, and that was a weird experience. I'm drinking kombucha again, in case you were wondering. And so the Rockets over the years, man, consisted of there was the Steve Francis years. The ones I remember as a child was the Steve Francis years. I was alive for the Dream Team, not the Dream Team, but the back-to-back Houston back-to-back Clutch City. I was alive for that, but I was barely born. I was born in 1993, so I don't really have any memory of that. And but the Steve Francis years is when I the first years I remember of the Rockets basketball, with Steve Francis and Cuttino Mobley and Kevin Cato and all those guys. And I also remember my favorite years would probably have to be the Yao Ming, Tracy McGrady years, when they were losing in the playoffs against the Utah Jazz, and they lost to the Utah Jazz. They lost to Portland Trail Blazers that last year with Yao. And it was devastating when Yao Ming had that foot injury. I mean, we went from being a pretty good team to just being like a 500 team, like 40, 41, and 41 every year, it seemed like, until we acquired James Harden. Then when that happened, then things really turned around. We started making the playoffs again, and even in 2018 we got pretty far. We got all the way to the Western Conference Finals, and lost. Of course, we lost to the Warriors, but it was awesome just to see those guys play together so well and lead the league in wins. They were the number one team in the league. I think they had like 65 wins, which was incredible. I never seen the Rockets get anywhere close to even 60. They were always like a 50-win team until that 2018 year where they made it all the way to the Western Conference Finals. Growing up, I did have some other favorite teams. I did like the Celtics, especially when they acquired Kevin Garnett and Ray Allen, and of course they already had Paul Pierce. Rajon Rondo became like a star of his own back in those days. He's not so much a star anymore, but he is a good role player. Celtics, and I like the Heat when it was just Dwayne Wade leading the team. I think he led the league in scoring in like 2009, I think it was. He led the league in scoring, and he could block some shots too. He was a good shot blocker, even though he was only 6'4", and he played so much bigger than that, and that's what I liked about him. And yeah. So yeah. Also the Texans. I guess I could talk a little about the Texans. Man, I can remember when the Texans first became a team in like 1999. That was a good time because we finally had a football team outside of the Cowboys. Because a lot of people in Houston really rooted for the Cowboys, and because we didn't have a team for so many years. And yeah, the Texans they've made it to the playoffs a, a few times, but they never really got very far. But man, me and my grandma, we love to watch the Texans play because they're just the home team, and you got to root for the home team. Yeah, and then I think soccer. The thing that attracted me to soccer was the running. I get to run full steam and just play with your heart. And kind of get a good amount of cardio. I really did like that, and I still do play. I don't really follow soccer in the sports world. I don't really know what the teams are. Like I know Cristiano and Messi, but those guys are like superstars, so everybody seems to know who they are. And yeah, that's. I mean, I do have I have PES. I play that occasionally, but like I said before, I'm not really a video games guy, and so I haven't played that game in like months. Since I gave up video games. But when I did play video games, that was one of my favorite games. Uh, yeah. Also, 2K, NBA 2K is my favorite game. 2K20 was awful to be honest with you, but hopefully they'll come out with a better one next year, and then I might get back into video games just because I've always loved 2K and what they do. The graphics are just back in like 2013. I never seen the graphics like that, and it was so realistic, and it just had such a good flow to it, and it was just an awesome game. Uh, yeah, so that's everything to do with sports. I guess I could talk a little bit about what else could I talk about? Hmm. I think in fashion, I said yesterday that when it comes to fashion, I kind of feel like it's materialistic, and I still do. But there was a time when oh man, I was so obsessed with having like new clothes and being fashionable. But I did learn like over the years that you know that's just not. It's kind of like a selfish in a way. I don't know how to explain, but it just seems so materialistic that it just turns me off, and basically, and yeah. There's also I've had so many dogs. I like to talk about dogs. I've had like so many dogs over the years. My first dog, his name was uh, Zooey. We had him when we lived before we left to Puerto Rico for the first time, and well, for the only time before we left to Puerto Rico. We had a dog named Zooey. He was a little Pekingese dog. He was I think one time he bit me, but other than that, he was a good dog. Um, he bit me when I was a child, and I kind of cried about it. I still remember to this day crying about that, and kind of scared me because I never seen him like that. But anyways, my second dog was Brownie. Brownie was a big dog. He was like a Doberman, half Doberman type dog. He was pretty big, and and he would play with you. He would like you wouldn't play with him; he'd play with you. He was like the human in the relationship between me and him. You know, it seemed like he didn't follow any rules. He didn't care about nothing. He would bite people like all the time, like not really like bite them viciously, but like kind of like play bite them, and like he was chewing, like he was I forgot what it's called when they're growing their new teeth, new teeth are coming in, like he was teething, and he would bite people like all the time. But he would do stuff like steal steaks from the counter, and like I would have steaks be cooking like a barbecue or something. He'd just steal the steaks, and I'd be like, "Where the hell did the steaks go?" And sure enough, I'm pretty sure he ate them. I didn't see him eat them, but I'm pretty sure he ate those steaks because they were gone, and that was the only explanation for it. Reasonable explanation, anyways. And then now the new dogs we have, which the third and fourth dog that we had is the latest dogs that we have right now, Penguin and Betsy. They're good dogs, they're such good dogs. Occasionally Betsy will like growl at me, but that doesn't really bother me so much. But Penguin, he's never barked at me or growled at me or anything. He's a good dog, and they love to eat. Betsy loves to eat fruits and vegetables. Penguin will eat. Penguin will pretty much eat anything. I know. Wow, a dog likes to eat fruits and vegetables. It's pretty crazy. She does love to eat those. I don't know why, but I think it helps her to poop or something like that. It gives her some fiber in her diet. But yeah. And then we had a few cats. We had Smokey and Rocky first, and they were the first cats we ever had. That was like in the late 2000s, and yeah, they were awesome. But I didn't really have any problems with them. But they would fight a lot. They would get into little fights. And I remember one time Smokey brought in a little bird. That was crazy. It was alive, and it was like flapping its wings, trying to get away. But I think Smokey ate him, and just he his instincts came in, and he kind of just ate the bird. And yeah, and then the second cat, or the latest cat, the new cat that we have right now is Cutta. She's a calico, colorful cat. She's like, calicos with the orange and the black and the white. I heard there are only calicos can only be female. So of course she's a female. And yeah, it's like those are the animals we've had in our family. They were all great, We did have a few moments here and there, like with the cats fighting and the dog growling and the other little dog biting me. But other than that, they were awesome. They were good pets. And yeah, so I guess that's all I'm going to talk about today. I'm here for you guys. I know I can be boring, but hey, if nothing else, you can just play me when you're trying to get some sleep. Play one of my videos while you're trying to get some sleep, and I'm sure you'll doze right off. Okay, good talking to you.